Servus und grüß euch. Now, you didn't understand it, I know it. Well, that was how we in Bavaria, in our Bavarian dialect, say hello to a good friend and welcome. So, welcome for another edition of the video productions by the Artelino company, my little family company located in Bavaria in southern Germany. And we sell Japanese prints in weekly online auctions. And in this video, I want to present you 6 selected art prints from the current auction. And let's start with the first one, by Daniel Kelly, one of my favorite artists, by the way. Daniel Kelly is an American living in Kyoto, and he's famous for the use of innovative woodblock technique. This is actually a woodblock print, yeah. And he uses a different paper, so often his prints have an irregular shape, this one not, and are printed on what looks like a stiff cardboard-like paper. He imports these papers from countries like Nepal or Bhutan, and the artworks by Daniel Kelly, he also makes paintings and prints are often rather large. Also, this is not quite small. And artworks by Daniel Kelly, they always have one thing in common. They always have a charming Japanese character, and they are not quite cheap. Well, this one has a reserve of $2,000, but there's one thing you must know. Daniel Kelly's prints on galleries or art fairs, take a look at them. You often find them for $5,000, $10,000. So this is a pretty good reserve. Take your chances, my friend. By the way, comes from a private collection consigned to Artelino. Well, next one, number 2, is a Meiji print from the Meiji period by Yoshitoshi Tsukioka. He died in 1892, and he was obsessed with ghosts. And before his death, he could finish a series, and it's one of his best series, with the title of New Forms of 36 Ghosts. So this series has 36 different designs, and we got a consignment. I think it comes from a private collector of half a dozen or 8 designs from this series. The reserve is pretty attractive, $800 only. This is a famous series by Yoshitoshi, which normally is not cheap. So the third print is by a contemporary artist, by Kaoru Saito. Kaoru Saito, born 1931, by the way, is the master of mezzotint. This is a technique where you can create soft forms, soft colors, and he specialized on images of beautiful women. Also a genre which has an old tradition with Japanese prints. And look at that, it's lovely made, and the combination here of the crimson color with this green, and look at that face. It's a limited edition, and this is the number 91 out of a total edition of 93, was published in 1994, has no condition problems, whatever, and this is also a reserve. This is a little bit too low, only $500. Next one is a Shinanga print. Yeah, it is, by Harumi Tarteishi. Harumi Tarteishi, born 1906, died in 1994. And even if you're familiar with the Japanese Shinanga art movement, you may never have heard this name, Harumi Tarteishi. And when I remember back to 2001, when I started this company as an online company for Japanese prints in the internet, I can't remember that I ever had before a print by Harumi Tarteishi. He was actually a pupil, a student of the famous Shinanga artist Ito Shinsui, and now it comes. Harumi Tarteishi is well known in Japan. This artist even has a museum dedicated only to himself, the Tarteishi Harumi Commemorative Museum in Saga Prefecture. But outside the Japan, I don't know why. Probably because his prints are so rare. Or the Japanese holding them all back, or what? I have no idea. But what I know, it's lovely. And it's a limited edition. This is the number 216 out of 300, and the edition is size and number. Here comes on this extra slip, and this has a reserve of only $400. So count a bit, my friends. This is by far too cheap. I think it was consigned. Yeah, it comes from a private collection, a collector from whom we got not many, I think less than a dozen, but excellent prints. The next one, Edo print for all die-hard fans of ukiyo-e. It's by Kunisada Utagawa, and it's funny. When I saw it the first time, I thought, hey, that is by Toyokuni Utagawa. Toyokuni Utagawa was the master, the teacher of Kunisada. And why? Because Toyokuni made many portraits of kabuki actors with this typical, unusual face, which is nearly like a grimace, with this long nose and this thin, elongated chin. And I tell you now why. This shows the kabuki actor Matsumoto Koshiro, and he was a famous kabuki actor in Edo, and he was often portrayed by Toyokuni Utagawa, but this one by Kunisada, published in the 1830s roughly. And there's also a story behind it. This actor was very popular among the population of Edo, the capital of Japan, to today Tokyo. And there's a legend. When this actor made a grimace, with his face, it was so unusual that children in the audience were afraid and began to cry. The print has rather minor condition problems, pretty good for old print, 150 years old or whatever. And the reserve is also something that could make me cry. Only $200. You can't go much higher for this rather rare and unusual print for Kunisada. Last but not least, my friends, again a Shinhanga print. This time not published by a publisher from Tokyo, but by a Kyoto publisher, by Unsodo, published the first time in 1953. And the artist is Shintaro Okazaki. There's no information about this artist. Most probably he was a painter. Publishers of Shinhanga prints often cooperated with painters and did not document the biography of the painters. And, well, Japanese people see this a little bit different. They don't care so much about biographies of artists as we Westerners do. What I like about this one, first of all, it's a lovely design. Shows a sailboat on the Japanese inland sea, and I like this toning in blue. And this is a design that was also used in a similar form by other Shinhanga artists and also by a contemporary artist. The Shinhanga artists are, first of all, Hiroshi Yoshida, the famous Hiroshi Yoshida, and he made a series of 5 or 6 prints showing a sailboat on the inland sea at different times of the day with different lightings. He was inspired by this, by the French Impressionists, and he wanted to show that also with the technique of woodblock printmaking, it's possible to create images that get the message of an impression of different daylights of a certain design. The other artists, Tsuhiro Koitsu, made a similar design, also lovely. And last but not least, one of my favorite artists, contemporary artists, and by the way, he consigns directly to us, so support him, Ryusei Okamoto. He made a wonderful design of such a sailboat on the inland sea. The reserve, it shouldn't be like that. It's crazy. It's only $120. So count a bit. This is, I never had this, I've never seen this design before. And I never had this design before in 20 years, by the way. Well, I've shown you the six selected prints I wanted to show you from the current auction. And let me finish. I like Mark Twain. Let me finish with a quote by Mark Twain. It goes like, "A person who won't read has no advantage over one who can't read." My friends, I like this quote so much because it sounds like a characterization of today's internet users. Yeah, you guys, you don't read anymore. It's just looking at images and clicking on buttons. And please, when you bid in our auctions, please first read the descriptions made by my wonderful wife, Yori, my Japanese wife. She makes excellent descriptions. You cannot cancel a bid in an artelino auction, and I tell you the reason why. Artelino auctions does not offer own inventory, but everything that we offer to you is consigned either from collectors or dealers or partly also contemporary artists. And when they see a bid on one of their prints, they want to be paid, of course, yeah. Other auctions of Japanese prints, to my knowledge, they all sell their own inventory, my friends. And secondly, I don't want to have a hoax auction. So you cannot cancel a bid in an artelino auction. Please respect that. Got it? Okay, wonderful. I love you. Have a good weekend, my friend, and have a good time next week, and take care of yourself. Goodbye.